Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast with Investing Education Academy. You have Leon Noble and myself, Brent Simpson. We are here to talk to you all today about something that is very important and timely. We are talking about the Santa Claus rally. So, for those of you all who don't know, Leon's going to tell you why we chose that topic, but I will point one thing out. The Santa Claus rally was first discovered or documented in 1972. So for those of you all who maybe have think Leon and I are making this up, you could actually go to the Stock Traders Almanac, and you can find like that documentation when the Santa Claus rally was first documented in 1972. And with that being said, also want to say we're going to the end of the year. A lot of you all are trying to figure out, there's a new president coming in to office in January, and the market has been reacting what Leon and I would say consistent with what we thought it would be. Some of you all may think it's because of a particular reason, and we would say the market wants to know who's going to be president. The market doesn't always care who it is, but they just want to know, like, what is this person bringing to the market. In this particular situation, we have a person that's a bit of a wild card. So the market is definitely trying to guess what is going to be accurate, and there's a lot of speculative movements happening in the market, which I believe as time goes on, we're going to see probably some pretty unusual swings in this particular presidency. But at the same time, this is the absolute reason and the time you need to be part of a community. It is almost impossible for most retail investors to keep up with all the news, all the things, all the industries, all the possibilities as they exist in the market. On the other side of that, there's some people who, because they don't understand the market and they definitely are nervous about, going into a new market that's going to have some speculative risk in it. So they're just going to stay in the bank. That's the worst thing you can do. So with that being said, this is a great time to join IEA or another investment group, but doing it by yourself in isolation is not something that we would suggest, especially with the upcoming market. It's not just about protecting yourself. There are some amazing opportunities coming out. And if you aren't aware of where those opportunities lie, your money could be underproducing for you. So Leon's going to tell you why we chose the Santa Claus rally, and I am going to do a little housekeeping.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, it's what's today, December 5th. So we're in the last month of the year. We're in the Christmas month, the month when Santa Claus arrives at all of our houses in a couple weeks. And there's this phenomenon called the Santa Claus rally. And as Brent said, it was discovered in 1972. And it's documented in the Stock Traders Almanac. And essentially what it is it's really just so there have been a lot of theories behind why it happens. And it happens very consistently. And just to cover real quick, the Santa Claus rally technically covers Christmas Day through the end of the year. It doesn't cover like all of December. It doesn't cover all of November. But you can kind of extrapolate out, move that out maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month to November, because November actually is the highest returning month on average for the year, right? Going back, I think 20 or 30 years. So people would think, oh, the Santa Claus rally, December must be the highest returning month. No, it's actually November. And so some people like to say, well, the Santa Claus rally actually starts in November, and then goes to the end of the year. That's debatable. But the technical term for the Santa Claus rally is really December 25th through the end of the year. Now, like I said, Brent said the reason we're bringing this up is because we're now entering. Well, we come through November. November was an awesome month. I think November typically does, I don't know, 1.3% typically, but because the election was in November, I think November ended being up like 2 or 3%. Like November was a huge month this year over typical Novembers. But again, November is typically the highest revenue month, the best month of the year. Because the election, it was supercharged, right? So if you're in Bitcoin or any crypto, you've seen some awesome returns.
Yeah,
we have, right? And actually last night, around 10 o'clock, Bitcoin actually crossed over the $100,000 mark. So it was this big, thing everyone was waiting for. When was Bitcoin going to touch 100,000? Some people thought it would never do that. Some people thought it'd go back to zero. But I think we're kind of past the whole notion that Bitcoin is I mean, it's speculative, but it's not
going away. It's not going.
It's not going away. It's not like a childish or fool's errand. It's literally you may hear the term digital gold, and what they mean by that, they don't mean like it's because gold has been around for centuries. Basically, what they mean is that it's a store of value, right? So Bitcoin was originally started to actually be a currency, for us to exchange things. That's not happening. It's proven to be very, very slow, very, very inefficient. So Bitcoin is now seen as a store of value, like gold. A lot of people invest in gold, but nobody's going to their grocery store to buy bread with gold, right? So it's a way to hold value, and people see Bitcoin as the digital version of that.
And just FYI too, if you all, in addition to Bitcoin, having that move because of Bitcoin, if you hold any of the ETFs, the Bitcoin related ETFs, you would have seen maybe like a 1% to 2% move in it just yesterday in most of them. So it's because of that threshold being crossed.
Bitcoin, since the election, Bitcoin is up, I think I saw yesterday, roughly 50%, 50%, 30 to 50%. So I mean, it's had a huge move in basically a month. And a lot of people attribute that to former President Trump, because he's been very Bitcoin friendly. He's saying he's going to be the Bitcoin president. He actually wants the U.S. government to start buying Bitcoin and storing it, kind of the way they used to buy and store gold. If that happens, we'll see. But he's very, very Bitcoin friendly, which a lot of people are attributing the run up in Bitcoin recently. But back to the Santa Claus rally. The reason that's important is because typically, on average, Santa Claus rally returns about 1.5% from January 5th to the end of the year. So the market generally returns about that much. So you're talking almost, let's say, between 1% and 2% in just a 1 week's time, and that's for the averages, right? That's for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. But individual stocks, as we know, move, typically, 2, 3, 4x more than the actual indexes. So if we could see a 1.5% move in the indexes, S&P 500, Nasdaq, you could see a 2, 3, 4% move in your actual portfolio, depending on the type of stocks you have. If you have more risky stocks, more tech. A lot of people that follow us are really tech heavy, like Brent and myself. So that 1 week move of 1.5% could be double that, 3%, maybe 4%. So it's important that you're actually in the market, and that you're kind of watching too. So one thing I'm Brent, I don't know what you're anticipating. I don't know what's going to happen because we cannot see the future. But the market feels well. Actually, historically speaking, the market right now is expensive, right? Like stocks have been bid up the last 2 months, really, in a big time since the election. So my anticipation is that January, February are going to be very rocky. Are going to be. I think we can see anywhere from a 8 to 15% pullback, maybe in the first quarter of next year. Will it happen? I have no idea. This is just my gut feeling, and years in the market, this is kind of what I'm feeling. So I'm preparing for that, right? So I'm going to ride this into the end of the year, do this whole Santa Claus rally thing, but then come next year, January 1, I'm going to start repositioning my portfolio in some ways a little more defensive, and then I'm going to layer on top of that some options to help protect my portfolio as well. So yeah, and just enjoy the Santa Claus rally we're about to go into. But the first quarter of the year is typically one of the more rocky times of the year, so you just want to be kind of ready for that.
Yeah, and for me, I'm looking at, I want to see from a regulatory standpoint what the regulatory risk might be in the market. And this particular presidency, regulatory risk is going to be a very real thing. You're talking about tariffs. You got to think about what industries the rules are going to loosen up in, maybe banking, maybe with some of the FTC.
Supposedly mass deportation of the workforce.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking about a shakeup that you really almost can't anticipate what the outcome will be. And because of that, I will go with Leon. I'm definitely thinking about doing some profit taking, but my profit taking is probably going to happen like February, early February, middle to late, because I want to see where it lands. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside a pool of money. And we used to talk about it all the time. It's like, we just call it curious money, or so I want to make sure I have some curious money like around to take advantage of the opportunities that come from the market. And even it's not just a market where it's going to be the sky's falling, but it's going to be a market where people just don't know. And because people don't know, there's going to be a lot of defensive plays happening. and that's going to drive the market down. Now, I do agree. There's been a lot of hype, a lot of speculative inflation in the market. I'm making that up. This is my own term. It's speculative inflation, and because of people hoping what a lot of people, I'm getting close when I say that. A lot of people are hoping they understand what is going to happen in the market, and they're investing as if it has already happened.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's going to be a reckoning where, some people, some of the regulations that they think is going to fly through is not. There's going to be something where, some of these tariffs that are supposed to happen won't happen the way they're anticipated. And it's going to cause the market to fluctuate. So I want to be there with a pool of curious money ready to take advantage of these situations as they arise.
And just to touch on that point on regulation, which is really, 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 really important. Typically, we don't talk about regulation because that's really not our thing. But Trump, as Brent said, being a wild card, coming in talking about tariffs, 100% on some countries, mass deportations. I mean, these are things that could just shake up the market, right? But as Brent said, you want to be in the position to actually take advantage of some of these things. Now, one point I want to make is that, so I don't know how much you've been following the election, but the election night, it looked like it was a landslide blowout. It looked like Trump took Harris out, took her to the back of the shed, and just beat her down, right? That's what it looked like election night. If you've gone back and kind of followed what's happened, the election we thought happened actually did not happen, right? So as we know, presidents don't make law, Congress does. So the night of the election, it looked like it was a red wave, red sweep, right? Not the case at all. So going in, when I think Congress gets sworn in the first week of January or something, the House of Representatives, which is one branch of the government, where laws are made, the Republicans are going to only have a 2-seat majority, and that's probably because Trump has pulled some people out of it, and the Democrats actually netted 2 seats in the House, right? Once they have these special elections, the Democrats will probably have, the Republicans may have a 5 or 6 seat lead, which is in the House is nothing. I think they're 200 some odd seats in the House, so it's nothing, right? And then the Senate, the Republicans only have a 3-seat majority. So it goes back to what Brent said. Election night, everyone thought, oh, Trump is taking over, Republicans taking over. It's going to be mass deregulation. The good times are going to roll. Not necessarily the case, because a lot of the policy they want to implement, some Republicans don't even like.
I'm about to say that's the big thing. It will require the margins on the House and the Senate right now. It will require everybody to vote exactly the same way.
Yeah, yes.
And that rarely ever happens.
And you have to remember, so before the election, I think Republicans had a 6 or 7 seat lead prior to the election. And we all remember the chaos with the whole Kevin McCarthy thing being kicked out. And so Republicans they're not a monolith. They don't go together really at all. There's factions within the Republican Party. And so when you're talking about they have a 2-seat lead in the House to begin the year, and then after about 6 months, it may go up to like 5 seats. That is nothing. So a lot of these regulations, as Brent said, that people thought election night are just going to reign supreme, likely they're not going to happen, because again, a lot of Republicans don't agree with a lot of the Trump agenda, and definitely a lot of Democrats don't agree with it. So there could be a lot of gridlock in Congress, and then also remember the Senate, the Republicans only have a 3-seat lead, which again is nothing. So let's say as Brent said, a lot of people are investing right now, like all that's already happened. Like the deregulation, the agenda has already happened, and it's going to be, just rain money down from the heavens. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to get a rude awakening the first 6 months of next year around regulations. So we'll see. So as Brent said, I'm preparing beginning in January. Brent's going to start preparing in February, but we're definitely getting ready for what could be a sizable pullback first quarter-ish of next year.
Yep. And so, with that being said, we hope you all take this information, do your own research, see what makes sense for you and your family, your suitability. This is not advice to you, particularly whoever is listening right now. This is, information to hopefully you become curious and do your own research and invest the way you want to invest, the way you feel comfortable. For those of you all who are not part of any type of investment community, and you're thinking, well, why didn't I know all this stuff you all said today? Because you're not part of Investing Education Academy either. So you need to join. You can go to IEAmembers.com. Again, IEAmembers.com. You can join our Facebook group. It's growing. We'd love to have you over there so we can have some good conversations. and we'll be back in 2 weeks with more great information. Leon, you have anything before we go?
Yep, and we owe you 2 stock picks or crypto. We owe you 2 picks. Those will be inside our members community at iamembers.com over the next couple of days.
All right, everybody, have a great